Hi there, I'm Peter Millard, and in this week's 10-minute workshop, we're back and building stuff again. And in this week's video, I make some wardrobes and top boxes. It's coming up next. Ooh, so yeah, we're there's a load of work on at the moment. We're getting into that sort of time, that sort of period where it's sort of people have suddenly realised that it's mid-October now, and people are realising that it's Christmas around the corner, only 10 weeks away. I was also recommended by a couple of people on, we've got a sort of round robin email newsletter type of list. I mean, there's loads of these, but I was recommended on this particular one. And I had about 6 months worth of enquiries over a single weekend. So there's a lot of people going to be disappointed there. One person who hopefully won't be disappointed even after the job's done is the guy that I'm doing this for now. Get that centered. I've got a couple of things to do for him. One is a double wardrobe with a top box above it, going into an alcove, so sort of one side of a chimney breast in a bedroom on a low plinth. All very sort of standard and straightforward. I need to sort of rattle on with this one really. It's not overly interesting. I need to sort of crack on with it. So the video for that one will probably be more kind of voiceover-y and just me fast forwarding a lot of stuff, because it's not, you know, it's like all the others I've done before. It's not particularly interesting. I'm going to use some of the domino connectors on it because the access to the apartment, to the flat, is quite tight. But other than that, it's a big hanging space with a couple of shelves in it, and the top box is just that, a big open space with a single adjustable shelf. So very simple, very straightforward, all with a sprayed, painted finish. And the other thing I've got to do for this chap is a big set of shelves. Thank you. Big set of shelves in his living room, his sitting room. And this is more interesting because the access is so difficult. You go up, it's a first floor flat in a big old Victorian property. So you go up into common staircases, there's a little landing, and then there's another set of staircases that go up to the top floor flat. And his is just off the landing, and there's a little sort of lobby, and it's one of those ones where you have to sort of open the front door and then close it again before you can get into any of the other rooms. So that sort of area is really, really tight to get things in and out. And this is a big, wide, 1600 wide, floor to ceiling, so 2760 high, 9 foot some, and over 5 feet wide. Set of shelves, not terribly sophisticated, not terribly interesting in and of themselves, but obviously I need to pre-make and pre-finish these so that they can just be slotted in during the installation, and that's going to be the challenge. There's a little bit more to come on that, so that one I'll probably spin off as a separate set of videos because it's actually quite complicated to put that together. And the other thing that I do, and I'm not sure if I've ever mentioned this, these are the sort of final working drawings that I produce, which the client actually signs off on. But before I do that, I do a sort of generic set of plans like this, just based on the measurements that I take, just for them to take a look at. I only do this on jobs of this sort of size. And then once we've agreed in principle what's going on, we can do sort of variations of the layout of the shelves and that sort of thing. Once we've agreed in principle, I go back and do a proper measure up, just citing where things are running out of true. So there's a 5mm fall away in the floor where the wardrobe is going to go, for example, and also just checking how out of true the walls are. We've got a 5mm lean in on the left hand side and a 15mm lean out on the right, so obviously that reduces the maximum size by 20mm. So all this is useful information to know about. No sockets pointed out there as well, and that was very useful for the shelves as well, because they are spectacularly out of true on one wall. But what we're going to do to start with, I've had everything cut to size. I've double checked the sizes and that's all good. I've marked everything out so we know which bits are what, and we start by sort of cutting the dominoes in there, and then doing the little bits and pieces like the shelf pinholes and that sorts of things. Once we've got the carcasses out of the way, then we can concentrate on the doors and then look at the shelves as well. But that's for the next thing. So let's start warming up the domino and cutting some mortises.
With the boards in place, I can mark them up, Carpenter's triangle coming into its own again, and then start cutting the domino mortises for the regular sized dominoes. The domino connectors need an 8mm bit, so I'm swapping this over before moving on to cutting the connector mortises in the ends of the carcass tops and bases. Then, forgetting to change the depth settings, no, not forgetting to change the depth settings, I can cut the connector mortises in the faces of the carcass sides. And once I've finished playing dominoes, I can get on with the shelf pin holes. Using the Festool Holy Rail and router combination makes the job fast and accurate.
So I'm using the domino connectors on the front edge because the front edge of the carcass comes out of the chimney breast, out of the alcove a little way. You'll only really see it on the left hand side, but might as well keep them balanced up. I've got to confess I'm in two minds whether to arrange it so that the axis is from the inside or from the top, because they're going to be fixed. It's just a convenience using the connectors. That they won't need to be taken apart again. I suppose there's no reason really why they shouldn't be on the outside, because you won't need access to them, because once they're in, they're fitted. But I think I'm going to put them on the inside anyway, because I know they work that way. But yeah, interesting. One of those fascinating dilemmas, fascinating to me because I'm doing it. Probably not so fascinating to you. I need to get on with it because I've got to be somewhere in there. So anyway, yes, we'll put them on the inside. So I referenced off the top, and these are the inside. Yeah, that's the top. Okay.
Each connector needs a 15mm access hole for the locking piece, and the jig I'm using to drill these with makes sure it's in exactly the right place. Next up is the doors, and I'm cutting 80mm wide strips of 22mm MRMDF to length for the rails and stiles.
So this is a bit of a headache. I hate losing things. One thing that's guaranteed to wind me up is losing stuff. And I'm just starting to set up the router table so I can groove the rails and stiles, get ahead on those. I want to get those done before I start on the other bits, the shelves. And I can't find my grooving bit. I've got a 1/4" groover in an 8mm arbor, 1/2" shank, and it sits up there on that shelf. That's the only place it goes. It doesn't go anywhere. It's too big. I'd never use it freehand. It's too big. The only thing it ever does is sit in here and groove rails and stiles for doors. That's all it does. And it's not there. I can't find it. That is a real, let's say, headache. Because I'm stymied now. I bought another one, and that'll be here tomorrow. But I'm completely, I can't do any of the doors now unless I find it. I've been over everything, everywhere, and I've just no idea where it would be. I mean, why would I take it down from there? It's where it lives. unless it was looked like he might have fallen on something. But then where would I have put it? Nowhere obvious. Maddening. Absolutely maddening.